The draft haul for the Miami Dolphins is complete in 2024. Keith, your initial thoughts adding offensive and defensive talent in this draft?
Yeah, I want to start at the very top, right, with them adding edge rusher Chop Robinson, right, and just their approach with that. And I'll say this: they had two season-ending injuries, right, with two really talented players, in Jalen Phillips, right, and then Bradley Chubb, right, two veteran guys who can provide a lot of high sack production. And I think that's the reason why they went with Chop Robinson. And so you kind of fear, right, you're talking about a torn Achilles, you're talking about a torn ACL, right, two, I don't want to say older guys, but guys that have been in the league a couple years. And so you have to wonder how that rehab process is going to be. So you have to inject now Chop Robinson. Now the issue is that Chop Robinson has probably the most explosive first step of any edge rusher in this entire class, right? But the explosiveness doesn't always necessarily translate to sacks, right? We've seen minimal sacks at Penn State. And when you think about the Miami Dolphins as constructed in the AFC East, right? You have the Buffalo Bills who they have to go to, right? They have the New York Jets who they have to go face Aaron Rodgers. So the edge rusher position is going to be so important. And while I like that they address the position, I still have somewhat of a concern, follow.
I want to say this, Keith. I like the Muhammad Kamara pick more than I do the Chop Robinson pick. And the reason why is the value with Muhammad Kamara. He shouldn't have been on the board in the middle of day 3. Now, I do like Chop. I do like the explosiveness, but they're obviously, as you mentioned, leave a little bit more there as far as more than explosiveness. So Muhammad Kamara at Colorado State, everyone watched that Colorado State early in the year with Deion Sanders' group there for the Buffaloes. But I love Muhammad's game. I really do. Watching him at Shrine, he was absolutely dominant. I don't have any worries with him as far as playing early downs as an edge rusher, countering the run game, and then also pinning your ears back and flat out getting after the quarterback. And also, Keith, pushing guys like Jalen Phillips, like Bradley Chubb, and now also Chop Robinson.
Yeah, I think what happened was in the first round, the Miami Dolphins found themselves in no man's land, right? Because what the other edge rushers were already gone, right? We've seen Latu Latu go, we've seen Jared Verse go right before that, right? And then now you have Chop Robinson, which you tried to address the positional need, and I think that's what happened. They extended themselves, and instead of going best player available, they went to address a positional need. Now, a positional need that they needed, right, was offensive tackle. They waited to the second round to go there with Patrick Paul, which is another guy that I have interesting feelings towards, right? Because he's another developmental player. And you look at their tackles, they have Austin Jones on one side, they have Teron Armstead on the other, and you wonder if they took this player because they question the health of both of those guys, right? And so I look at this, and my initial thought is, I don't know if he's going to play right away. To be completely honest with you, I had a 4th round grade on Patrick Paul, a developmental traits type of football player.
Patrick Paul, his game against Texas really told me everything I needed to know about what Patrick Paul is. They had a sophomore, Ethan Burke, that took him behind the barn a little bit, if you will, in that first
100%.
half. And whatever Patrick Paul did at half and what he did in that second half, I loved. And really, Keith, I saw a first-round player in Patrick Paul, and that's really that developmental traits that you saw, and the reason why for you gave him a 4th-round grade, I gave him a 3rd-round grade. So potentially down the road, Patrick Paul may develop into a potential franchise tackle for Miami, but that word potential could also get a coach fired because of what a guy potentially could be. So I like Patrick Paul. I like his skill set, but it's also about coaching and development that goes overlooked in this draft process.
Yeah, 100%. And I go back to what the division. Miami Dolphins are on the brink of being a really good football team, right? But it's consecutive draft classes having to put it together to be able to take that next step. Because like I said, the Buffalo Bills are still there. The New York Jets are coming this year with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. So I just don't know if Patrick Paul helps you immediately. Then let's look at this roster breakdown. What's the conversation about paying Tua Tagovailoa, right? Are you going to have the best assessment of Tua Tagovailoa if he doesn't have guys that are going to immediately help him and impact him? But the offensive side of the football, I know that they finished this draft up with some explosive playmakers that you want to get into.
Yeah, I really like Malik Washington. This young man should have not been on the board, Keith, on day 3. Now, I know they also had another burner in Jalen Wright. Interested to see him in this offense. But I really want to focus on Malik. And this kid at UVA spent 3 years at Northwestern. If this kid was at a larger Power 5 program, I think this kid absolutely goes on day 2. There was really no reason for him to be there on day 3. I absolutely love his skill set. Inside-out threat. He's also going to be a guy with these new kickoff rules. If they don't want to put a Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill back there, or a Jalen Wright as well, to where he can get really active on kickoffs, to where 1 foot in the ground and Malik's gone. He's also a tough kid. He's not 6'2", he's not 6'3", but he plays bigger than his frame. And we always say, look, we love small guys that play big, but we hate big guys that play small. Malik's a small guy that plays big.
Yeah, 100%. And when you insert him into this offense, he adds yet another element, right? And there's all the things that Mike McDaniel wants to do, right? Just the jet sweep motion, getting the ball in your hands, short area quickness, explosive, right? That's what he wants to do. And when you think about, hey, if a Jalen Waddle is injured, I'm not saying he's going to be able to replace what Jalen Waddle does, right? But he's going to be able to maybe take 70% of that workload moving forward.
Overall, Keith, you look at this draft for the Miami Dolphins, obviously add offensive talent, even a guy like Taj Washington late on day 3, another versatile type of piece. Overall draft grade for the Miami Dolphins. They added offensive talent, they added defensive talent. You're great for Chris Greer's draft haul here in 2024.
Yeah, I struggled giving the Miami Dolphins a draft grade, but I had to give them the C. And the reason being is this, that I thought that the back end of their draft was way better than the front end, but you have to hit on those first and second round picks. So while I like guys like Kamara, Jalen, right, but you have to hit on the Patrick Pauls, the Chop Robinsons for this to be a successful draft. And in my opinion, with the draft grades that I gave those guys, and as this team is currently constructed, I have to give them a C.
Absolutely agree, Keith. Big year for the Miami Dolphins, pushing forward to be one of the elites in the AFC.